Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we will be discussing about the different configuration modes that we have on Cisco routers and switches. To configure your device, you first need to have access to your command line interface, and this is also called the CLI in abbreviation or in short. After having access to your CLI, you will first be prompted with the first mode, which is called the user exec mode. Now these modes, they are in a form of hierarchy. You will have the first mode, and the first mode that you will have will be kind of a subset of the mode that you will have after it. So at the user exec mode, the configurations or operations that you can do here, they are very minimal. Basically just to see statistics of your device. So as a result, after having access to your device using the CLI, and then you get to the user exec mode, then you would need to proceed to the next mode, which is the privileged exec mode. Now, but before going to the privileged exec mode, for you to know that you are on the user exec mode, it will show you a prompt. So if you are on a switch, the default device name will be switch, and if you are on a router, the default device name will be a router. So let's assume you are configuring a switch, then the default name or the prompt you will see on your device will be switch, and this symbol. So after having access to your device, this is what you will be prompted with. Now, once you see this, then you should know that you are on the user exec mode. It is very key that we understand or we know what these prompts are, because just knowing the command is not enough, but knowing the mode where to enter the command is very essential. So once I see this, then this should tell me that I am on the user exec mode. Now, from the user exec mode, then you have the privileged exec mode. Now, on the privileged exec mode, every command that you had on the user exec mode will be on the privileged exec mode with other commands added. Now, once you get to the privileged exec mode, here basically you have access to configure your device. You can use your show commands, and you can also do your configurations as well. Because from the privileged exec mode, this is what allows you to get to the global configuration mode. Now, how do you know that you are on the user exec mode, on the privileged exec mode rather? Now, the privileged exec mode, the prompt will be switch, provided that you are configuring a switch and the name of the switch was not changed. Is still the default. Then you will see switch and a hash. So seeing this should tell you that you are on the privileged exec mode. Now, from the privileged exec mode, you would want to move to the global configuration mode. At the global configuration mode, any configuration that you apply, it globally affects the device. So basically, at the global configuration mode, any configuration that is done there, it affects the operation of the device. Here you can change whatever configuration that you want at the global config. Now, for you to know that you are at the global configuration mode, you will see this prompt, again switch, and then in bracket you will see config, close bracket, and a hash. So upon seeing this, then you should know that you are the global configuration mode. So basically these are the three modes that you have, and people also call them the base configuration modes. Of course, after getting to the global configuration mode, there are other modes that you can also have. Like, let's say if you were to configure an interface of a switch or a router. Now, after entering the interface name, then you will see switch, in bracket config -if IF meaning interface, close bracket, then the hash. So this will be the interface configuration mode. There are also other modes like the line mode, the router mode, when you are trying to configure your routing protocol and so on. But basically these three are very key for us to know, at least for a start. Now, how do we move around, or how do we navigate between these three modes? So after having access to the CLI, like I said, the first mode you'll be prompted with will be the user exec mode. Now, while I am at the user exec mode, if I want to move to the privileged exec mode, then you need to type enable. ENABLE. So typing enable will take you from the user exec mode down to the privileged exec mode. Alright. Now, if you want to move from the privileged exec mode and back to the user exec mode, then you just type the opposite of enable, which is disable. So disable. Disable will take me back to the user exec mode. So from the user exec mode to the privileged exec mode, you type enable. If you want to go back from the privileged exec mode to the user exec mode, which is the first mode that you will be prompted with, then you type disable. It's just the opposite, so it should be easy to remember. Now, if you want to move from the privileged exec mode to the global configuration mode, then you type configure terminal. Now, if you just check on some documentations, you will see config T. I will explain this, why you can put just config T and it will work. So basically, you're just cutting it down to config T, and this config T actually means configure terminal. So just type in config T. We'll do the same thing as type in configure terminal, because config T is actually configure terminal. So after you type configure terminal, then this will bring you to the global configuration mode. Now on the Cisco devices, we also have a help and correction feature. On any mode that you are on, if you want to know the commands that you have on each mode, then you just type question mark. Once you enter question mark, like let's say if I was on the user exec mode, once I type question mark, then it will show me all the commands that I have at the user exec mode. Now, let's say you forgot the command, so that way it becomes helpful, because then you can see all the commands that you have in this first mode. So after seeing the command and remembering, then type in that command, and let's say moving to the privileged exec mode. After entering question mark again, it will show me all the commands I have on this mode, likewise on this mode as well. Another feature that you also have is when typing, it's not necessary to always type everything in full. It has a help feature which is the tab key. So when typing, let's say configure terminal, I can type just CONF. Then when I enter the tab key, it will fill in the rest of the letters that are left out. So that way, that meaning it completes the word. But there is a condition for that. So now let's say I have configure and connect. So we have configure and we have connect. Now, if let's say I have configure and I have connect, I was on this privileged exec mode, then I want to move to the global configuration mode. And like I already said, to move from the privilege to the global, you type configure terminal. Now, if I type just CON, at this point, CON is not unique because I have two commands that start with CON. So if I should type just CON, then I proceed, it will show you a prompt and it will tell you that the command is ambiguous. Ambiguous meaning it is not specific, meaning that command or what you type, it applies to more than one command. So you need to type up to a letter which at least distinguishes the two or more commands that you have which are similar. So meaning if I type just CO, then I enter the tab key, it will repeat that CO again. If I type CON, then I hit on the tab key again, it will just show that CON again, because at that point it is not what unique. But now, see, whenever if I should add F, at this point it becomes unique, because there is only one command that has CONF. So if I type CONF, now if I click on the tab key, it will complete the word for me and it will recognize that I am trying to enter configure, so it will fill in the word and complete it for me. Now, coming back to what I was explaining, that instead of configure terminal, I can just type config T. Now, coming back to this example, because now if you see this CONF, then even you as a person, you will know that there is just one word that has CONF. So the device will also recognize that this CONF is referring to the configure, and as a result, if I want, I can stop here, but some people will add the CONFIG, but even CONF would work. So CONFIG without this URE, it will recognize that I'm referring to the command configure. Now after configure, what follows is terminal. There is just one word after configure. Another thing that you can do is after I type this command, I can put a space and put a question mark. Then it will show me whatever command you understand that can follow, or if there is a text that I need to put after this command. So if you should type configure, then you hit question mark, you will see terminal, because terminal is the only command that follows after configure. As a result, if I want, I can just type config and this will take me to the global configuration mode, or I can type config T, because just at this point config, it is unique, but at config T it is still unique. So that is why some people will type just config T and this will work. And it's not just config T, as well as interface. When going to an interface, you see some people will type interface in full and some people will just type INT, because at that point it is the only command that starts with INT, so it is unique. If you want, then you can just stop at INT without proceeding to and trying to spell the whole word. So this is a great help feature. It saves time, as well as, well, some people are not very good with spelling, so this also helps a lot. Another way it helps is with the question mark. After typing CON, I can just hit question mark and it will show me all the commands that I have there, and I think this is very helpful. Now, I have explained how to move from this user exec mode to the privilege exec mode, and from the privilege back to the user exec mode. I also explained how to move from the privilege to the global. So let's see how to move from the global configuration mode to the privilege exec mode. I almost forgot, skipped it, sorry for that. All right, now if I am at the global configuration mode and I want to move back to the privilege exec mode, then I just type exit, EXIT. So exit will take me one mode back. It's like a step back. So exit will take me to the privilege exec mode. Now let's say I wanted to configure something inside an interface. So after getting to the global config, then I go inside an interface. So I am currently here. Now I want to exit this interface and go back to the global configuration mode. So while I am here, I can also type exit. And like I said already, exit will take you one mode back or one step back. So when I type exit, this will take me to the global configuration mode. After getting to the global configuration mode, if I type exit again, this will take me to the privileged exec mode. But remember, after getting to the privileged exec mode, if I want to go to the user exec mode, instead of exit, I type disable. Now, after getting here, it is possible to enter exit or to type exit and enter. But then, if I should type exit here, this is not taking me back to this mode, but it is taking me completely out of the console configuration. Let's say I'm using my console port instead of accessing my device remotely. So I'm using my console port to configure. So using the console port, I have access to the CLI. Alright, now so let's say even to have access to this, it's possible to set a password that I need to enter before I can get to this mode. So after entering the password, I get here, then I move to this one. So when I get here, instead of typing disable to get back to this one, if I'm at the privileged exec mode and I type exit, then this is taking me completely out of the console configuration. Meaning later if I want to do any changes, I need to enter that password again so that I can get to the user exec mode. So that is the difference here. It's important that you take note. So while here, if you want to move to this one, you type disable, but if you want to go completely out of your console configuration, then you type exit. Now, exit, like I said, it takes you one step back, but we have another command called end. END, end. Now, and despite the mode that you are on, whether I'm at the global configuration mode or I'm inside an interface at the interface configuration mode, if I type N will take me all the way back to the privileged exec mode. So meaning N will not take me one step back, but N will always take you back to the privileged exec mode. So instead of going one step back, sometimes it's faster. That is, if you want to go to the privileged exec mode, it is faster. You just type end and then enter, and you will see that you are in the privileged exec mode. But this end also has a shortcut. So instead of typing, you can just hold on the control key with Z. So control Z is the shortcut for N. Alright, so let's say I'm at the interface configuration mode. If I hold on the control key with Z, this will take me all the way back to the privileged exec mode, and then I can use maybe my show commands or whatever you want to do next. So after doing all these and getting to the global configuration mode, another thing you might want to do, or one of the first things you want to do, in fact, is to configure a host name. It is very key that you configure your host name. One of the importance of configuring the host name is it helps to differentiate your devices. So let's say instead of using the console port, I am accessing my devices using either Telnet or SSH, using remote access. So if I am to Telnet on different devices, let's say I have multiple devices, and maybe it's a router or switch, and they are all having the default name switch, then it becomes very difficult for me to differentiate between these devices, especially if I'm logging into those remote devices, into several remote devices rather. Then it becomes very difficult for me to differentiate between them. So in order for identification purpose, it's important that you give the device a name. So the name that you give it, it does not affect the operation of the device or how it works in any way. We are just using it for identification purpose. So while giving it the name, it is also important that you consider giving it a name that relates to the location where your device is located. So let's say, for example, in this building, we have different floors. So if our switch, let's say, is located in the first floor, I can give it a name like SW. SW means switch, okay, hyphen FL. FL means floor, alright, hyphen 1. Yeah, so this can be one way for me to know after logging in that this switch is in floor 1. Alright. So it depends on what name you want to give it and how you want to have your naming convention. But it's also key for you to also know that when configuring the host name, you cannot have a space. That's why I was using the hyphen. I can also use other characters, but I cannot put a space. So I cannot put S double space FL space. That was why I was using the hyphen between the letters. Yeah, so basically that is it. We can move on to Packet Tracer and see a sample of everything that I have explained here. Thank you.